Yes, what's going on, peeps, man? We are back in the building, guys. Make sure, as always, you're smashing the like, you're sharing, and subscribing to the channel, man. So today we are here to talk about Eberechi Eze. Looks like he may potentially be going to Arsenal this summer. It's an interesting one because he's definitely a player that I rate a lot. I think he would be a good signing for Arsenal. Obviously, I know Arsenal fans, they kind of want a striker. They wanted a different type of a left winger. I know Rodrigo seems to be the name that's on quite a lot of Arsenal fans' lists in terms of the winger they would love to come in and potentially replace Martinelli. Whether they would want Martinelli to go, whether Arsenal have the funds to not need to necessarily sell a Martinelli or a Trossard as an example. I don't know. I'm not too well versed in that kind of area. But when it does come to is a player that is high up on their shortlist. So obviously, according to David Ornstein, it says Arsenal put Eberechi Eze high among options to bolster attack. No contact with Crystal Palace yet. Unclear if needs exit, but serious candidate. Plus, he is separate to the striker and winger. Arsenal would look to pay below the release clause. I would love to know what that release clause is. And it seems like Spurs are not pursuing for now. So I'm going to assume maybe, Spurs probably, I believe they were interested beforehand. Um, it did seem like something that could potentially happen. Um, go into Spurs. I don't know if that was under Ange Postecoglou. Obviously now they got Thomas Frank in, so I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, Eze is a top player, man, top player. Now, where he would fit in an Arsenal lineup, that is a very interesting question because obviously there's a few positions he can obviously go in. So we know he can potentially play you've got here. So he could play obviously as an attacking midfield or as one of the two attacking midfielders within their team, obviously alongside Erdegaard and Declan Rice. Obviously, they've also got in Zubamendi as well. So they've got options with someone like Eze being in there. And I think that's why having a player like Eze in your team could serve to be, very, very smart business from Arsenal. You've obviously got him here, as he obviously has got it here like a 4-2-3-1. So him playing as the sole attacking midfielder, and then you've got a double pivot of what I say, Rice and Zubamendi. Obviously, that will probably change within the game in itself, and then you can keep Martinelli out there on the left wing, Havertz up front, or the new striker if they do get one, and then of course Saka out there on the right, or you can put Eze on the left wing again, options. You know what I mean? And this way you can then get your three midfielders in, Rice, Erdegaard, and Zubamendi. And then, of course, with Havertz and obviously Bukayo Saka. So when I'm looking at Arsenal, I'm like, yeah, the fact that, there's three positions he could potentially go in, attacking midfield, left wing, or, part of a two in the midfield as maybe as like a left central midfielder. I think this is why it's such a good option, for Arsenal. Again, I don't know what the fee would be for someone like an Eze. I think when you're talking about Arsenal, especially under Mikel Arteta, obviously we saw what he did slash tried to do, obviously with Kai Havertz. He would play, sometimes as that kind of left central midfielder. I think someone like Eze will be a lot better. He can operate in those areas far better, in my opinion, than someone like a Kai Havertz. And I think he'd be a lot more natural because again, he's someone who can drift wide. He can play in the pockets of spaces. He can play through the middle. I've seen him drift out wide right sometimes. Again, he's very good defensively as well. He knows when he needs to start, tracking his runners. He can help out in those kind of areas. But further forward is where you really want to get someone like Eze on the board. And I feel that Eze is a lot more natural, I would say. And again, this is just my personal opinion. I'm not an Arsenal fan, so don't kill me. But in my opinion, Eze is a lot more comfortable operating in that final third than, say, a Martin Erdegaard as an example. Now, not saying Martin Erdegaard isn't a fantastic player. I think he's a brilliant, number 10. But Eze, I always feel when I'm watching him, I'm like, yeah, you see further up the pitch, that is all you, bro. This is all you. This is the area of the pitch that you need to be in to really, really affect the game. Whereas I feel like someone like Erdegaard, he can help with the build-up. He'll come back, pick up the ball off the defenders. And again, he is brilliant going forward. It's not like he's poor or anything. I know he had a poor season last season. But in general, from what we've seen of Martin Erdegaard, you can see that he is a player that does do well in those forward areas. But when I watch Eze, I'm like, nah, Eze in those forward areas, very difficult to pick up. He's someone who can ghost into the box as well, which is also weird because, I mean, we saw with the FA Cup final, but we've seen in the last, especially in the last couple of seasons, and specifically under Glasner as well. When I'm watching Eze, I'm like, what you're doing well now is you're ghosting into the box. And I always feel like, Frank Lampard, those kind of players, who can just ghost in the box. That gets you an extra however many goals, 10 to whatever, amount of goals that you can get in a season when people are not marking you. And he's obviously got the capabilities to score when he does get there. That's, for me, that's when I look at someone like Eze and I think, yeah, you know what? Eze is actually, top drawer when we're talking about in that kind of respect. But again, we'd have to wait and see. We really will have to wait and see in regards to someone like an Eze. So let's obviously take a look at his heat map, for this coming or this last season just gone, right? And I just wanted to see how that kind of compares, would I say, to Martin Odegaard and also to Martinelli. But the reason why I keep picking Martin Odegaard is because he is the best forward or best attacking midfielder that they've obviously got currently at Arsenal Football Club. And again, I really, really like Martin Odegaard. I do think he's a top player. He's gone past that traditional, yeah, he's a number 10 for me anyway. I don't look at him as that type of player anymore. I look at him and I think you're now a midfielder. You're someone who helps in the build up play. You're someone who can, come back and help defend. You're someone who we do expect in those forward areas to kind of make things happen. Obviously with Saka, on that side, but they do need someone on that kind of left-hand side as well who can almost operate and do very similar things. So yeah, I'm intrigued to kind of see, what this kind of looks like. So let's get this up. So this is obviously his heat map. This is against Martin Odegaard. You can see obviously Odegaard will be on the right, and of course, Eze would be on that left-hand side. But yeah, I mean, Martin Odegaard, you can see is heavily in that kind of right attacking midfield, kind of area anyway. With Eze, yeah, I would say yeah. Although to be fair, if you look behind the halfway line in that kind of left wing back kind of position, if you want to call it that, his is quite heavy also in that area. But yeah, like I said, they needed someone who can kind of operate and do the same things. Let's take a look actually what this would look like against a Martinelli as an example. Let's get that one up. So this is the Martinelli versus Eze. Kind of interesting, to be fair. Very, very interesting. You can see like Martinelli is that left wing, and he likes to get to the byline and stuff like that. Whereas with Eze, so Eze's on the left of your screen, with Martinelli on the right. I mean, you would know that, to be fair, if you know the two players. But either way, when you do look at Eze's one in this kind of area here, in that kind of, again, a left attacking midfield, you can see he loves to drift in. He's not really someone who's going to always get to the byline. Now, is that going to necessarily be a problem? I mean, you have got Saka who can get to the byline. He can go on the outside. He can go on the inside. So then do you necessarily need to have two players who can do that? Again, not necessarily. Whereas when you look at Martinelli, he's not really someone who's going to come infield like that. That's not really his game from what we can see here in terms of the heat map. You can see he prefers to, go on the outside. So again, that'll be interesting. But listen, these are the two options that, Arsenal, in my opinion, they're going to try and look to have anyway with signing someone like an Eze. Is he can play left, he can play right, he can play left, he can play attacking midfield. I even feel like if they really wanted him to, and if they really, really needed him to play in this position, I reckon you could also do the false nine thing. I mean, they've had Marino up there, up front. There's no way you're telling me that you can have Marino up front and not have Eze up front as well. Like Eze can't play there if obviously Arsenal needed, to have that player, to be able to play in that position. But let's compare. We'll take a last look at this comparison. We'll take a look at Martinelli versus Eze this season. I think we'll probably know who's going to probably come out on top. So Eze on the left, Martinelli on the right. I've done it per 90 minutes. I prefer that way. For those who are obviously watching or are brand new here, I don't really like total at times. Because I like to see, sometimes it can be a little bit skewed, with certain things. So I prefer doing the per 90 minutes. So let's take a look. The shots excluding blocks. So obviously Eze takes a lot more shots than, well, not a lot more, but he takes more shots than Martinelli, but he only gets 1.1, whereas Martinelli is 1. So you can see, look, Martinelli's got better shooting accuracy with 62.5, whereas Eze's is 47.54. Winning goals and all that. I don't know why I put that in there, but it's there. Non-penalty goals 0.3 to 0.4. Goals from inside the box, again, 0.3 to 0.4. Outside the box, 0.1. Right-footed, left-footed goals. Conversion rate, Martinelli's is at 20%. Eze's is at 13%. Remember, contextual, plays Crystal Palace. Assists 0.3, so he beats him there. Chances created, he creates more chances. He attempts more passes. He completes more passes. Got a better passing accuracy, but the fact that his is 81.51, and obviously Martinelli's is still good, but he plays in an Arsenal side where that's your game. Like, that's what you guys do, kind of thing. So, again, interesting to see. Crosses 3.9 to 3.6, which is interesting considering this is a player who, as I mentioned before, loves to get down that byline, as we saw, with his heat map. Crossing accuracy, so yeah, Eze just about edges it. Open plays, crosses completed, 0.3 to 0.9, that's interesting. Through ball, 0.4 to 0.2. Layoffs, forward passes, wow. Martinelli's is almost basically half. Backward passes, again, Eze's out in front in there. Sideways passes, he's out there. Take-ons overrun, 0.2 to 0.3. Fair enough. Take-ons completed. Now, this one was an interesting one. This is the one that I really looked at. The others were like, yeah, they're cool. But yeah, this is for the eye test, guys. Yeah, you know what I mean? As I said, Eze on the left, with Martinelli on the right. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, ish, take-on success. Let me even, there we go. Take-ons completed. This is per 90 minutes. Eze is doing 2.4 take-ons per 90 minutes. Martinelli is only doing 1.3. And look at his take-on success, 35% in comparison to the 51%, of Eze. Could that be something to look at? Again, by the way, I'm not even saying that, someone like Eze is just going to come in and boom, he takes his spot. It might not even be that like that at all. It could genuinely just be, rotation purposes, something different in games, because obviously we saw with last season, Arsenal in attack were absolutely horrible in terms of the options that they had. Sterling's, and again, you have to play Marino, up front. And I'm sure Kieran Tierney was even, I said, yeah, Arsenal, you lot need to pattern up, man, because this is just horrible to watch. Jules 1, ground jewel success. Eze is coming out in top there. Touches per game, 54.9. But again, context, plays for Crystal Palace and one of the star players within the team. Ball recoveries, 5.1. Eze loses more possession. I would expect that. Touches in opposition box. This one was interesting as well. You can see that Martinelli comes out in front by quite some margin, more than double of that of Eze, 7.7 to 3.6. That one was very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And then, of course, times tackle. But listen, like I said, man, Arsenal looking at Eze. Do I think Eze will be a good deal? Yes, I would love Eze in my team. I think he'll do a fantastic job. And I think, again, offering that versatility, being able to play left wing, attacking midfield, you can change up the formation if you need to as well, 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. You can do whatever with someone like Eze in the team. And again, if anything, he's coming in as that squad option. He's coming in as that kind of rotation. Now, whether he would like to do that, this is why I thought maybe he would have gone to Tottenham, because at Spurs, I do believe that he would necessarily start straight away on that left-hand side. Or if he really wanted to, he could play, in that attacking midfield position, but he would definitely start for them, in my opinion, over there. If he goes to Arsenal, I'm not 100% sure. Is he just going to drop, someone like Martinelli? Is he going to give Martinelli a bit more time? Does he want something different? Does he want something better defensively? Who knows? But we'll obviously wait and see. As I mentioned before, I think Eze is a fantastic deal, for them. But we'll have to wait and see as to what Arsenal want to do, how they want to do it. As it says, obviously, there, he's on the short list and it's separate to the winger and the striker. So this could gear up to be a big, big summer for Arsenal Football Club. So Arsenal fans, you just got to be patient. I know you signed in Norgard and Kepa. So quite underwhelming. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, I get it. In terms of squad depth and all of this kind of stuff, that's all great. But in terms of when you're looking at, like ultimately this is football, right? And we're all trying to win, the Premier League, Champions League and stuff like that. Ultimately, you're going to look at your rivals. What are my rivals doing? Have they strengthened enough? Do we have enough? So, of course, when you compare it to the likes of the Manchester Cities, the Liverpools and stuff like that, who are the rivals, for Arsenal Football Club, obviously you're going to look at it and think, brother, this ain't even popping at all, kind of thing. But the summer is not over. The transfer window is not done. Let's wait and see as to what Mikel Arteta can obviously do. But let me know your thoughts, Arsenal fans. Please, in the comments, please let me know. Is Eze a deal that you would want to see the club pursue and push through? Are you more concerned with other areas in your pit on the pitch, and you would think, let's just leave that one, and if we can, spin the block, then we'll spin the block to go and come in and sign someone like Eze? Or are you happy with being linked to Eze? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, people, and I'll catch you